A question that I get a lot when it comes to moving abroad is what destination should you pick? What country should you pick? And in today's video, I wanted to share the thought process about how we decided on our move abroad destination. And I'm explaining this process from obviously my own personal experience and also from the position of an African American who's going back to Africa, but not African American in the traditional sense of African American. So maybe I should say an American African. I think maybe that's the term, as an African immigrant who came to the US and then became an American citizen. So I guess I'm an American African. I don't know what the term is. I don't know. But I just wanted to give that perspective because my perspective is different from a traditional African American who is moving to Africa. Okay. Because for me, I lived 23 years, I think, in Africa before I came here to the US for school. Okay. So my perspective is a little different. And so, why going back to the continent? That's one thing, but that's not the question we're going to answer in today's video. In today's video, I really wanted to share, okay, how do you decide? 54 different countries, which one is the best for your situation? And it might not fit your situation. Again, my situation is not yours, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a guideline because a lot of people would say, okay, you are coming from this specific country, you can go back to that country. That's the first perspective. That's the first choice. Going back home, going back to your home country. Well, it gets a little more complicated because my passport country is not the country I lived in. Okay. Do you follow? And on top of that, my husband's country is not my country. So there are different choices. So my initial passport country is the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So that could have been top choice number one. Problem is, I've never really lived in the Congo. I've never been to the Congo. Top choice number two is Morocco, where I was born and raised for 20 plus years. So that could have been choice number two because that would be considered my home. Choice number three would be my husband's home country. So another complex city in the whole equation. But I would say, okay, Cameroon is home for him. So Cameroon would be top choice number three. So if we were to think about going home, those would be the three countries. There are definitely pros and cons to choosing your home country, where you grew up, where you live. Definitely, obviously, the first advantage is that it's home. You know the environment, you know the people there, you have family there, you have friends there. It's familiar, you have networks. You are not unfamiliar. You're going back to a system that you know, depending on how many years you've been away from the system. There will be a period of readjustment, obviously, right? And so, but still, it's the countries, the place you know more than where you are now. So more than the US, or even after the US, that's the country that this next that you know best, right? After the US. And so that would be an obvious choice. Definitely a lot of advantages about going back to where you came from. There are also a few disadvantages, is almost the same pros could be cons. Sometimes familiarity can become a problem. Sometimes, I'm not saying it is in our case or it's in most cases, I'm saying in some cases, familiarity can become a problem because you're going back to a place because it's home, but you're not going back. So you're making an emotional decision instead of a rational decision. You might go back to a place where there's no opportunities for you, maybe in your industry, maybe for the things that you want to do. Maybe there are no opportunities there, but you're going back there because it's home, but not because, if you're looking at it objectively, that shouldn't be the place you would go to if you want to do work in a specific industry. Okay. So for example, if you're thinking of going in the tourism industry and you want to go and you're from the country of Centrafrique. I don't know how to say that in English. Centrafrique. I don't know. I'll put it on the screen somewhere. Centrafrique, right? And it's very unknown as a country, and it's not a country that is known for its tourism, right? But your area is tourism, and you're like, you want to show Africa to the world, you want to do this. That probably would not be the best destination if you wanted to do that. Okay, there are other African countries where it would be a lot easier to do and where tourism would be more developed, and people will be more interested in visiting those countries than the Centrafrique as a country. And so again, you can say, okay, I'm going home because I have the attachment, I have the network, I have the family. You could even have like a position in the tourism ministry or whatever it is, like a government position. Sure, that would be great. However, if you want to look at things from a practical way, that's probably not the best place for you to go if you want to work, if you wanted to work in that industry. So that's one of the inconveniences. Another one is, like I said, familiarity. Sometimes when you go home, you are seen as that child again. You're seen as that person that you were when you left. And you don't get the same type of respect. You don't get the same type of saying because now you're an adult and you're coming with a fresh perspective on life, but you could still be treated the way you were when you were a child, when you left, and all of that. And so familiarity sometimes can be an obstacle and not an opportunity because people know you and people have an existing image or the idea of who you are. They've already categorized you as the son of that person or the child of that person, or you're coming from this tribe, or you're like, they already know who you are and they've put you in that category, in that box. And it's very hard sometimes to get out of that box. So yes, there's a lot of advantages with having familiarity, but also familiarity can be a weight on you, and it not doesn't always allow you to explore new environments and new horizons and to really fully grow to your full potential. So when it comes to moving to your home country, again, that would be opportunity number one, option number one, but there are pros and cons. Okay, so for us, it could have been Cameroon, it could have been Morocco, it could have been the Congo. Now, an alternative would be, another option would be to go to a neutral country, a country where it doesn't really have that identity attachment, like it's not family of your, it is not where your family is, but you know a few people. Okay, so that could be a country like Ghana, for example, for us, where we know people in Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, where we know people in Cote d'Ivoire. It could be a lot of different countries, okay, where we don't really have a personal attachment to the country. It's more neutral, but we have some familiarities with some people there who could help us, who could, make life a little more comfortable for us. Senegal would be another one. So Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, um, Ghana as well, and probably a few more. Okay, so the pros again is the fact that it's new. You don't have that familiarity, attachment. You're not put in a box. And when things are new, is open to opportunities. Okay. But the but the problem with that too is that you're starting from scratch. Yes, you have a little network, a possible existing network because you have friends and things like that, but you don't really have a solid network. And so that can be also problematic. You have to know that you're the new kid on the block. You're going to have to start from the bottom. You're going to have to build your network. You're going to have to do all of these things. And when I think about when I came to the US as a college student, that's basically how it was for me. I had some familiarities with a few family friends here and there, but in the whole state of Texas, it was just me, right? It was just my siblings were in different states, and people that I knew were in different states, and so it was that environment where nobody knows me, I don't know anybody, and I'm starting from scratch. I loved it because nobody knew me, and so it's like fresh, fresh off the boat, like the series, and it's like, okay, you're starting from scratch. You're starting with a new. You can be you, right? People don't have opinions about you already because they don't know you. But at the same time, it can be a little lonely. Things can take time because you don't have that existing network to tap into and to help you grow faster. Okay, so you really have to do things on your own. And so if you're adventurous, if you're courageous, if you don't mind really having that unknown, then yeah, this is great. It's exciting, to be honest, right? It's really an exciting adventure that you're going for and going into untapped territory where you can become something. Sometimes it's easier to do things in a place where you're not from there than somewhere where you are from. In other words, let me rephrase that. That's why immigrants do so well in general, right? Specifically in the US, immigrants do very well because there aren't as many obstacles. Because even though you're starting from scratch, and maybe you were a doctor in your home country and now you become a, you're washing dishes. So yes, you're starting from the bottom, bottom, bottom in a lot of cases. Not all the time, but in a lot of cases you are. But there's no limit to what you can do. It's like you can start from the bottom, but then you can build an empire. You can build great things because there's no real cap that affect immigrants the same way that those caps can affect natives, people who are from that country. So there's definitely a privilege in being an immigrant if you can play your cards well. And so that's the second option, going to a country that is neutral, where you might know a few people that can help you here and there, but you don't really have an attachment, a personal attachment to that country. Option number three would be to go in totally untapped territory, unknown. You don't know anybody there. Maybe you know about the country, but it's like it's more about the opportunity of being there. Maybe you're thinking about either business or maybe lifestyle, and you're like, you know what? Let's start from scratch. Let's be adventurous. This is going to be great. This is going to be fun. And in this case, this would be the same thing for me as, for example, going to, let's go to Vietnam. It's untapped territory. It's, I don't know anybody there. It's out of my comfort zone in a way. But the reason why I would choose an African country instead of like an unknown African country instead of unknown Asian country or a country from in Latin America, in South America, or in Europe is because I still have that attachment to the continent. So there's still that sense of identity that, okay, I'm in Africa. Wherever I am on the continent, I feel connected because I'm African. And so, yes, there's that connection, but still, I don't know a soul there. I don't know anybody there, but still being guided by that sense of identity, that sense of, that pride of being African. And because I'm African, I'm home anywhere on the continent. And so, in that way, we would look at practicality, business opportunity. For example, again, if you're in the tourism industry, someplace like Mauritius or the Seychelles, where tourism is booming, right? So this could be logical places to go to, even if you don't know a soul there. It's just strictly for business opportunities and lifestyle, because that could be a place where, I mean, you're on an island, right? The weather is going to be perfect. People are going to be nice. The food is going to be great. All of these things, right? So different reasons why unknown territories would still work, could still be good choices for you. And where it's less about, do I know anybody there? But more about, can I make something out of nothing there, right? Again, in that case, you're going to have more courage, more of an adventurous spirit, more of a, I can do this, right? It's going to be exciting. It's going to be great. And I don't know if we're there yet. I think that I personally would be okay with it, depending on the country again. It would be, I don't know if it would be a smoother transition. I don't know, to be honest. It's not something that I have personally looked at as the let's go to the unknown just because. Okay. Personally, it hasn't been our strategy. For us, it was familiarity. Let's go with where we already know people and where there are opportunities. So it's a combination of both, not just, oh, I'm from the Congo, let's go to the Congo. No, not just because I'm from there, because I have family there, but also being strategic about, okay, lifestyle, business opportunities, ease of doing business, different factors. And if we know people there, better, because that will help you a lot more. Okay. So in essence, these are the three different ways we could have approached looking at our destination. We are from there. This is home. Boom. We don't think twice. Let's go there. Second option, we're not from there, but we know people from there. Okay, let's do that. Third option, we're not from there. We don't know a soul there. Boom. Why not? Let's go and do that. All three options are good. It depends on your level of comfort. It depends on what you're going to do there. If you're going to tap into your existing network and get a job there, if you're going with an entrepreneurial, um, you know, if that's the thing that you're going to do there, and there's a market for what you want to do, and the procedures are easy. You don't really need to partner with a local. You don't need to, right? Depending on how comfortable you are with being uncomfortable, because you're going to be uncomfortable in all three scenarios. Okay, there are pros and cons to all three, but for me, I personally don't go just with familiarity just because it's family. And that's probably because of the way I grew up. Because again, I have attachment to different nations, to different to different places. And so I don't have a allegiance, I would say, to just one place. And I think that's the beauty of being a third culture kid, is like you can identify with different cultures and you're comfortable in different environments. But if we're just looking at the continent of Africa, same thing, whether it's a country I'm familiar with, a culture I'm familiar with or not, I still feel an attachment. But again, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be super comfortable there, okay? Just to be honest. All right, so that was my take on how to choose where to go to. Again, if you're African and you want to go back to Africa, but you don't know where, it doesn't have to be quote unquote home. It doesn't have to be to the country back to the country you left before you came to the US or Canada, wherever you're watching this from. Okay, there are options, and yeah, that's what makes the whole thing even more exciting, because it just depends on your level of comfort and adventure and what exactly you want to do there. Okay, there are options, and just go through the process, rank different options like we did. We ranked our different choices and we made our choice. Okay, so let me know in the comments what country seems appealing to you and your family, and tell me why. Okay, let me know all of that in the comments. I'll be talking to you soon. Bye.